What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dynasty Dudes podcast. And today, what is today? I don't even know what today is. It's like middle of July. Training camp starts like this weekend, which is super sick. Um, so I figured we'd just kind of jump back into it and talk a little
Love
football. But
that, man.
dude,
You were hitting
dude,
some high notes right there.
dude, thank you. It's my falsetto. It's early in the morning. Um, Rob, I think we just have to start with the news of the day in that the Jacksonville Jaguars strength coach just came out as a homosexual. So, Rob, I just ask you first, like, how does it feel to have some representation in the league finally?
Oh my gosh. I have
That's
no
such a
conversation.
that's such a that's such a circa like 2010 joke, you know? Like it's just so unacceptable, and there's like, yeah, I don't think people are gonna find that funny, but that's okay.
Listeners will find it funny. I mean, we can definitely get traction with that joke. It just wouldn't be the traction we've been looking for.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to I don't even know what his name is, but uh,
Congrats, man.
yeah. To you and yours. Anyway, we're talking we're talking about stacks today. The stacks. I wish I just had like $100 bills. I think I probably do actually, but I wanted to like just throw like stacks on stacks on stacks on
Yeah,
stacks.
just throw cash in the air.
We're talking about stacks, and we're gonna go through and just talk about we're gonna start talking about the top 10 stacks right now in Dynasty, and then I guess we'll get into some of the stacks we're gonna keep an eye on this year, that can kind of break into this top 10 list and maybe potentially be elite. Um, yeah, I think this top 10 list is a little bit boring. I think everyone's gonna know the top five. You know, there's going to be no surprises thrown anyone's way. But we'll just get into it just to talk about it a little bit. But the number one, and I think it's the number one, anyone you talk to, mostly, maybe you would switch one and two, but number one for me is Burrow and Chase. It just has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Rob?
I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Burrow's awesome. Chase is awesome. They're both young, under contract, and they're not going anywhere. If you got that stack, congratulations. Enjoy the next 8 years of dynasty production.
Yeah, that's the thing with it. Like, it legitimately could be like 8 years. You know, it's
Yeah.
insane how
And Chase
like
is what, 23, 24?
I think he just turned 24. And then, Burrow's a little bit older, but he's just a pocket passer. He'll be able to stay in the league forever. It's just, you're just looking at something that you're like, if 6 years minimum, you know?
Yeah.
So pretty incredible stuff. And I even think T. Higgins is not going to be a Bengal in the next year. So, and again, even if he is, who cares? You just have such an elite stack right there. I wanted to ask you actually first, Rob, before we get into the next ones. How do you value stacks? I know you are the proud owner of the number two stack that I have on this list, but it seems like you've always kind of been a little bit less enthusiastic about obtaining them.
Yeah. So I love a stack. Once you have it, though, the problem is you can't break it up. I'm not trading
Right.
Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown,
Mm-hmm.
at least not separately. And
Right.
there's added value there that no one wants to pay for. Oh, well, these guys are on the same team and they're productive together. I don't want to give you extra in a trade for them. So stacks are awesome, but they're expensive to acquire because you're looking for an elite wide receiver or quarterback asset. And then they're so hard to break up. So, like, I love my stack, but on the flip side, the trade value is just non-existent. Like, I can't move those guys for what that's worth. Also, I think when it comes to trading, I'm seeking specific value, right? I'm looking to buy low, sell high. Acquiring a stack usually means you're paying up for guys, and I hate trading like that. I do not like to give up a whole lot of assets for one thing, without the idea that that asset will increase in value. So,
Yeah. No, I've been experiencing a little bit of that with excuse me, a little bit of that with trying to get Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Especially a guy who just has so many question marks. And it's like, I don't even know he's going to be the number one receiver on the team. He seems like the best receiver, but I struggle to want to pay the price that is being charged to get him because he knows, like, oh, I have Trevor Lawrence. I want that potential
Yep.
stack. And he's just a little bit old. He doesn't make this list, and frankly, I don't know if he'll make the list in the future. But we can move on because you mentioned it. Hurts and EJ Brown,
Yeah.
another great one. I think what separates Hurts, AJ, and Burrow Chase, a couple of things. One, I think Burrow Chase probably has a longer shelf life. But with Hurts, when you have I don't want to say run first, but run heavy quarterback, you're always just gonna have a little bit of a downturn in like how much that stack is valued. And I think because of that, Chase is just a better asset than AJ Brown. But they're very close. They're very good.
Yeah. I don't disagree with Hurts, AJ Brown being second. My question is this season, Hurts just got paid a crap ton of money. I picture the Eagles are going to try to get him to run less and pass more. So I wonder if that stack will go up in value or if Hurts will drop from, QB3 range to 10, right? So I'm interested to see how that's affected by the contract.
Totally. I think there's a lot of parallels between kind of Hurts at this point in his career and young Dak. And so it'll be interesting to kind of see and obviously Dak had that, catastrophic injury that derailed some of his running. So I don't want to necessarily put that on it. But the other thing with the Eagles, they have, Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert to feed.
Yeah.
And yep. So
and again, they just got a new running back.
You're talking about, well, you have Rashad Penny, but he's not really a pass catching back. You're talking about DeAndre Swift.
Yes, thank you. Swift has some pass catching ability, so totally. It is definitely there's a lot of mouths to feed in Philadelphia, but there were last year too. And AJ Brown's so big and so good. I'm not super concerned about his production. I mean, his production kind of has always come from the deep ball and the touchdown. And so I'm not worried about that going away. I'm just interested to see if there's more passing. Does he maybe get more dink and dunk work?
Sure. Yeah, and again, this is nitpicking at this point.
It is. We're trying to find something to talk about, man. Like
right.
If you have Hurts and AJ Brown, congratulations. It's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk about this next one because I actually think I think there's a tier break after these top three, and that is Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. And it's kind of a stack that people don't usually talk about. I'm sorry, I just woke up and I have a little bit of frog in my throat. But these are guys last year you hated having this stack because they were hurt all the time. It just it's like you probably did not win your league if you had this stack.
Oh, you were in the playoffs if you had Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal stuff. But I think the upside of this stack is just so like if both these guys perform, stay healthy and perform to their maximum levels, it's like tough to see you not being one of the top 4 teams in your league. It's just that good if they stay healthy. Now it's a big if. Also, new offensive coordinator in Baltimore. They're not going to run those one wide receiver looks as often. It remains to be seen how that affects Mark Andrews, but man, Mark Andrews might be the number 1 tight end in Dynasty. He is such a positional advantage, especially if you're in tight end premium, which I think we're going to talk about this as if it is. I think Lamar and Andrews is so valuable.
Yeah, so I am interested to see how the retooling of the Ravens offense and wide receiver room affects Mark Andrews, right? I'm not saying that he's going to lose value, but maybe he settles into a more comfortable place. I mean, they really did just completely revamp that team with acquiring an old guy, a rookie, and I don't know, new OC. Maybe they pass the ball.
Bateman will be healthy a little bit.
Yeah. there's a lot of mouths to feed, so we'll see what happens there. But it is a pretty elite stack and kind of a positional advantage in that, like, man, if he's on his game, you are getting wide receiver points from a tight end, and that is pretty incredible. Mark Andrews he's a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah, no, I just think that you have to put it on there because if they stay healthy, again, big if you're going to be in for a good time.
Yeah.
So and again, number of years left on that for sure. Lamar just signed a big deal. Andrews should be under contract. I'll have to check, but whatever. Still plenty young. I want to talk about the next two kind of together because I think they're sort of similar. So I have Dak and C, and again, I think there's a pretty sizable tier break here because you have Dak and CeeDee Lamb, and you have Tua and Jalen Waddle. And the reason I say it's a tier break is these two, they're low end QB1s. They're probably a QB2 on a good team. And so we're now with Burrow, Hurts, and Lamar, like those are locked and loaded high end QB1s. Dak and Tua, these are QB 11, 10, those that kind of range. I love CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle. I think they're both elite wide receivers. I just love both of them. You obviously can't talk about Tua without talking about his concussions, and that's why that he settles in a little bit lower on this list. So, any thoughts on that, Rob? I think this is a fair place for both these guys.
I think those are both quarterbacks that could move up the list, right? I don't think that they're locked in as QB2. They could definitely make the jump to QB1, but there's enough question marks there that I think having them ranked currently at QB2 is super fair. I love CeeDee Lamb. He's 24 still? When did he join the league? I think he was 14 when he joined the NFL.
Yeah.
24 with 4 years experience. I mean, I think that Lamb has a promising career, and Dak should turn it around. He's been kind of a shell of the Dak he was, so that's interesting to watch. And then and sky's the limit for Waddle. I mean, he's been so productive, stuck in the shadow of Tyreek Hill, that I am very excited to see what he does for football when he is not sharing the field with one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game.
And I want to touch on that too because it's really interesting with Jalen Waddle. That Miami, the target share in Miami is just so heavily focused on Waddle and Hill that I kind of don't care. It's just kind of what it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not worried about their production. I'm just saying, like, Hill should get more, or not Hill. Waddle should get more targets when Hill gives it up and hangs up his cleats. So.
Yeah, that's still a couple of years away, but even now, that's You're just looking at such a great wide receiver at this point in his career to even think about what's going to happen after Tyreek Hill. It just sounds awesome, So, and again, the big concern with that one is Tua. I agree with you. I think there's a chance that Tua can finish higher, can finish in that top 5 QB range. But man, the injuries, you have to put him down here at 5 because legitimately, if he gets another concussion this year, it's over. His career is probably done, and so if he can make it through this year, I think he definitely jumps Dak and CeeDee, and maybe kind of gets into that next year.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about these next two real quick. I couldn't put them any lower, but at the same time, I couldn't put it any higher. That's Mahomes and Kelsey, and then Allen and Diggs.
I like ranking those together. That makes sense.
Yeah. Again, these are, and the reason they're so low. Kelsey and Diggs are older players. They probably had for Diggs. He has a contract that extends for a few more years. But you would be stoked if you got 3 more years of elite production out of them. But I don't think that's anywhere near a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee, but also we haven't seen a drop off from Diggs. I think it's fascinating to watch the fantasy community just give up on Stephon Diggs when, like, look, this isn't a oh crap, how did I forget his name? The guy out of Carolina, he just got Hopkins. This isn't a Hopkins
That would be
situation where he's got a PED issue and then he's had a couple bad games or he's moving teams a lot. Diggs has been locked in with Allen for the last couple years. He's consistently the same guy, and for some reason the dynasty community is like, meh, like we're over him. I think Diggs Allen does have 3 years left, and I think it should move, 2 ranks up your list. I love that stack.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the problem a little bit with Diggs, one, he's clearly got some, personal flaw, kind of some character flaws that
He's a wide receiver, man. They all got to be they got to act up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're worried that eventually turns into a fallout in some way, because it seems like if they don't win a Super Bowl this year, kind of even if they do, like, is Diggs going to teeter on the edge again? Is he going to do some crazy thing? He did it in Minnesota. He's done it again in Buffalo. So I hope that they can kind of resolve whatever these issues are. And then with Travis Kelce, like, would you be that surprised if after this season he's just like kind of pulls a Gronk and says, I think I'm done? He didn't even make that much money.
I think so. I think I would be surprised. So, like, watching his podcast, him on the field, the way he acts in interviews, I think he's loving it. I don't think he's done. I mean, I watched a breakdown of him playing football, and, like, he does a good job of, this is the play I need to fight for a touchdown, and this is the play where I caught the ball, I got 5 yards, and I should let him tackle me. Dude, I think that he feels like he is timeless until he retires. And I don't want to put a year on it, but I don't think it's this year. I really don't.
I would agree. I don't think it's this year, but I'm just saying, I think after this year, I think they're going to be, every offseason, there's going to be kind of some retirement sort of just rumors floating around. I think he's just coming to that age where it just has to. So I also want to mention before I move on, keep an eye on Dalton Kincaid. If he can turn into something, Josh Allen Diggs may turn into Josh Allen Dalton Kincaid. Again, that's something to keep the finger on the pulse this year. If he really can turn into that Travis Kelce role in the Bills offense, then Allen Kincaid goes in, up to Lamar Andrews kind of territory.
Or, hear me out, Diggs retires, T. Higgins gets released by the Bengals, and then it's the T. Higgins show.
Anything is possible, Rob.
Yeah, I just think if there's somewhere that a rookie... Wow, somebody's mad, huh?
I know. I don't know. I live in the city, kid.
Yeah. If there's anywhere that, like, a young wide receiver is going to get paid, I really think it's going to be Buffalo. But it's going to be like the minute that Diggs retires. They're going to wait.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I just want to put that out there. The next one, speaking of young wide receivers, this is an aggressive ranking because this wide receiver has not even seen the field yet. But I'm going to go with Justin Herbert and Quentin Johnston. And the reason, obviously, Herbert carries this one at this point, but you had a first-round wide receiver. They clearly saw something in Quentin Johnston because they drafted a guy who's a lot like Mike Williams. And so you're going to have this stack, even if it's not productive necessarily this year, you're going to have this stack for the next 4 years at least. I love it. I think it's going to be one that could fly up the list depending on how Quentin Johnston does. But I think just the potential alone, you have to put it here.
Yeah, I think the Chargers wide receiver room, I mean, you know me, I was a big Mike Williams truther last year.
Right.
Singing his praises. I think that wide receiver room might be shot. I'm not sure that offense can keep up the production for 3 top-end wide receivers, and I think they're going to do a great job spreading the ball out between Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnston. So until Keenan Allen gives it up and retires, I kind of think that wide receiver room is going to be stuck in limbo.
Yeah, no, I don't actually disagree. Now they have Kellen Moore coming in. He's kind of known for those high-powered, pass-heavy offenses. But I do, yeah, this is definitely not for this year necessarily. Like, there's a shot that Joe
Gotcha.
Johnson comes
This
out and
is an
just balls out.
investment in the future.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is not like going into this year because there would be like Cousins and Jefferson would be on this list. But no, this is for dynasty value, which includes for future. And I think you just
Fair.
have to put it on this list because there's no way both Williams no way both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are on this team next year. And so I think this is just a safe spot to put the Herbert Johnson stack. Um, Something to keep an eye on. It could fly up the list. It could kind of remain the same. It could fall if Johnson just sucks. He could be a bust. But and then I want to talk about these next three real quick. Just these are different. I consider these the true kind of locked and loaded QB2. Like these probably should not be your QB1s on a competitive dynasty team. You have Derek Carr and Chris Olave. You have Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you have Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy. Again, I think these are one veteran quarterbacks that still have a number of years left on their team with young, exciting wide receivers. So this is actually a top 11 list. So is there any of these guys that stick out to you there, Rob?
Shoot. Definitely Goff and
Amon-Ra.
yeah, Goff and Amon-Ra. I mean, there's the fear of Jameson Williams coming in and impacting that. But I think with Amon-Ra, until he loses it, we assume he's got it. He's been 2 years running, just awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that Goff has found a home in Detroit. He is not costing them games. That defense was dog water last year, and that's kind of what's impacting their ability to win games. So I think Goff and Amon-Ra, if you have Amon-Ra, Goff might be something you're able to go out and grab for
Right.
fairly cheap. Now, if you're trying to trade for Amon-Ra, good luck.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's actually a really good point. With pretty much all these guys, this is if you have the wide receiver, try to go get the quarterback. It's your quarterback too.
Yeah.
Because it just makes a lot of sense to go do that. Again, we've talked about it on this podcast, but I am a little bit lower on Olave than a lot of people. That being said, he's a young stud wide receiver. Derek Carr is going to be there for years, and then Wilson and Jerry Jeudy.
I like
Assuming he
that
doesn't
one as
get-
well.
yeah,
I think that Wilson
Yeah.
bounces back. I think Judy's the wide receiver one there. As much as I hate Russell Wilson, because I'm a Seahawks fan and it's required, I do think he's a good investment for this year. And
Yeah.
Judy is going to reap the benefits of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have for my list. But I want to ask.
Hey,
I think
hold up real quick. Your
Yeah.
mic is clickety clacking. You're getting some kind of feedback, or
Hello.
you might be good now.
Yeah.
It just sounded like something was bumping it over and over, and I figured it was worth taking a second.
Oh, hopefully that clears right
Sounds
up.
good now. Weird.
Cool. Anyway, now that we're kind of through this list, are there any guys? I have a few in my head, but what are some of the stacks you're looking at for this year that you're going to be keeping an eye on of who can maybe crack this list, even in the middle of this next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of touched on it. Trevor Lawrence and question mark, right?
Right.
It was Christian Kirk last year. I don't think Christian Kirk falls off. I think that he has shown that he is productive and he can catch the ball as long as it's not, 30 seconds on the clock, touchdown to go.
They should have beat Kansas City. It's unreal.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think Lawrence and, who's going to rise up and be the one there. Kirk isn't a bad option, but that's one to keep an eye on for sure. Who's going to break
I think
away?
That's a super good call. I've been like going back and forth. I actually just traded. I think I'm going to stick with it. We'll see what happens, but I'm just going with the tight end stack there and going with Evan Ingram. I'm a fan of Evan Ingram. I'm not saying he's going to be Travis Kelce or anything like that. I think
Yeah.
his ceiling is about what it is, probably that tight end, top low end, top five tight end,
Yeah.
which is a good player. I think a high powered offense. He clearly trusts Evan Ingram. So I just decided to go, especially if you have tight end premium. I think that's a pretty safe bet to go with. So that'd be again, even if Calvin Ridley breaks out, he's going to be 29 or 30 or whatever it is. It's tough to gauge if if Trevor Lawrence can get on this list next year because he might just. I mean, if Calvin Ridley is unbelievable, then he's unbelievable, and that'll be what it is. But
Yeah.
um, I wanted to talk about obviously it can't be a Dynasty Dudes podcast without talking about Jordan Love. It just can it be? Like I don't think it can.
No. The more we talk about it, Jordan Love and Christian Watson, the more we have to just eat grapes at him. Just, you know, I don't know if
Yeah.
they will be, but
No.
what if they are? What if they are good?
What if they are? Yeah. I'm excited about Christian Watson. I'm excited about Jordan Love. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to see how those two are able to interact. Right now, there were reports coming out of minicamp that Jordan Love and Romeo Dobbs were having this connection, and that's all well and good. It could be Romeo Dobbs, but I think there's a clear talent gap between Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs that I
Is
just
the
can't. I
talent
don't
that
think.
Aaron Rodgers throws you 3 touchdowns in a game and that's your 3 receptions and that's all you've
I,
done?
I I think that the talent is just he's so fast and he's so just athletic. He's just the better wide receiver than Romeo Dobbs. Romeo
I'm
Dobbs is a nice
so
player.
so receiver room. We didn't see a lot of Dobbs. He was a later pick than Watson, obviously.
Right.
Um, but last year we saw no evidence to support that they are dogs, that they're the guys. I mean, Watson was so touchdown dependent, and Romeo Dobbs was so injured. I do not
Yeah.
want to
I
spend
just
my
think
fantasy investments there. Gross. No, thank you.
yeah. No, I get it. It's just something to keep an eye on because if they are good, they are extremely valuable. They're going to be the staples in Green Bay for a long time if they turn out to be good. So keep an eye on that. The other one I
Or they're
wanted this
crashing for
is
Caleb. Crash for Caleb.
I don't think the Packers are crash for Caleb. Uh, there's one that I wanted to touch on that I think is really really interesting, and that's Deshaun Watson and Elijah Moore. Now, I there's a lot that kind of hinges on this, right? Because is Deshaun Watson going to get back to the quarterback that he was, at least 90% or 85% of the quarterback
Yeah.
he was back in Houston? And if that's the case, then you have this guy Elijah Moore, who is 23 years old. He's still he's going his third year in the league. He had all this turmoil in New York, and who could blame him? And there's a lot of people who really I just traded for Elijah Moore, and I really like him. I think there's a lot. He's a good route runner. He's extremely fast. He checks a lot of boxes. A little bit small, but if he can turn into like the kind of high end wide receiver two on that team, or even overtake Amari Cooper,
Yeah.
you're looking at a really really good stack there. So
Yeah, I don't like either of
yeah,
those players. I'll be honest. I'm not super bought into Elijah Moore, and I want nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. I think the Browns are just cursed, and fantasy wise, they'll have guys who produce and guys who don't. But man, it's so inconsistent. Yuck! I don't want to deal with them.
I get it. It's interesting to keep an eye on it though. The other
Oh,
one,
for
of
sure.
course,
You gotta watch it.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got one.
The
I've got another
yeah.
one.
Oh,
Kirk
cool. Yeah.
Cousins, just
Oh, okay.
Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Cousins has said nothing that implies he's retiring. The Vikings haven't necessarily shown that they're moving on from him, and Justin Jefferson's elite. You might argue that Cousins doesn't have the fantasy production to make a list, but I mean, he's a QB2, a consistent QB2 with QB1 upside some weeks. I
Yeah.
think that is a stack that's super affordable if you have Justin Jefferson. If you got
Yeah. I
JJ,
think.
you can go get Cousins for pretty cheap.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The issue with Kirk Cousins, not necessarily that he's going to retire, it's that his it's all about the contract with Kirk Cousins.
True.
He doesn't. They don't have the ability to franchise. He's been franchise tagged twice in his career already. They can't franchise tag him. He's going to be at 35 or 36 next year. Um,
35, I
I-
think. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So it's just going to be a really interesting spot with the Vikings of if they can re-sign him. But he's going to hit free agency. It sounds like. I think I don't know that the Vikings can control it. You know, they haven't. It doesn't sound like there's been major contract talks going on right now. So I, if Cousins can go and get another 3-year deal with the Vikings, then yeah, they make the list easy. But
I just don't know why
at
did
the
they let him go. I feel like Cousins is good enough that why would you want to enter the QB carousel, right? Like he hasn't necessarily been their issue for winning games. I don't know. That's interesting.
yeah, yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I really thought that they were gonna make a play for Trey Lance this offseason. I really thought they were
Mm,
gonna go give Kirk Cousins to the 49ers and then take Trey Lance and say, hey, we're gonna restart this with a young quarterback and this is
yeah.
a good one. The problem is they're just not gonna be bad enough to get a top pick, you know, so they're gonna I don't like. Is it setting up to be exactly like Brett Favre, where Aaron Rodgers comes to Minnesota the year after the like? It literally is setting up that way, which is insane.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
because yeah, you look at
recycling
who,
old scraps.
I, yeah, I guess so. Which is good news for Jordan Love. Um, so yeah, good call on that for sure. And I guess speaking of the 49ers, I couldn't put a 49er on this list because I know I think it's going to be Brock Purdy, but like, how could you be sure about that? You know, like
Yeah.
no way.
For all we know, I mean, quarterback is up in the air. Also, it's Kyle Shanahan. Who knows who's going to be the standout pass catcher on that team? They've
Totally.
got four, I would argue, four elite offensive weapons with Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, and CMC.
Right.
Which one's going to be their number one guy? And who knows? Kyle Shanahan's a pain in the ass to figure out anyway. And then you add that much talent. I'm just saying, if San Francisco can't win a Super Bowl at this point, they need to just, excuse me,
Yeah.
go pay any quarterback. Like go find someone legitimate. I don't know.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. A lot of people think Kirk Cousins is the answer there next year. I just don't know what that means for the Vikings, you know, of how that ends up going.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I guess the other ones you have to talk about is all these rookie quarterbacks. Is the Bryce Young, Laviska Shenault stack going to be what we all think it's going to be?
Yeah.
No, I mean you're really looking at like Therese Marshall and Jonathan Mingo and to see if they develop any connection. Same thing in Houston. Like, is it going to be Nico Collins? Is it going to be John Mechie? How's John Mechie even doing? I don't even know. Um, you have, yeah, I don't even know who else is it. Tank Dell, I think, is down there. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so and then you obviously have Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman. I have real concerns about that. I think that's going to be a Justin Fields-esque situation.
Yeah.
So, um,
I have
yeah,
a 1 year one. I think it's good for 1 year.
okay.
Geno Smith and
Yeah.
Tyler
Okay.
Lockett. Because Lockett's
Oh,
retired.
Tyler. Okay.
Was going to do as far as 3-year deal. Not to move on from your
Yeah.
rookies, I just don't want to talk about any of those situations because they're super boring and most of those wide receivers suck or are Michael Pittman, aka DJ Moore. Um,
Yeah. Speaking of the NFC West, we'll probably end on this because I can't believe we haven't talked about it. Kyler and
oh
Hollywood Brown,
yeah,
right? You know,
yeah.
like uh, obviously that is a very good stack if they
In
don't get
theory,
if they don't get a top 2 pick, which right now they are very much in line to get a top 2 pick. And with that top 2 pick, either you're going to go with Caleb Williams or Drake May, or you're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr., who immediately overtakes Marquise Brown. And so because I think that they're going to get one of those three players next year. I don't think I can put Kyler and Marquise Brown or yeah, Kyler and Hollywood on the
I,
list.
I think I don't want to put him on the list because Kyler's job is just so up for grabs. I'm not convinced that
Yeah,
Hollywood would immediately be replaced. I mean, sometimes rookies take a minute to acclimate. I get that what's his name is supposed to be NFL ready, but
so good, so good.
yeah, but I mean, people miss all the time. Think about how long it took Ayuk to be so good. Um,
He's drafted what 20 something, 22 overall.
yeah, but the pre-draft hype was there and the excitement was there. Anyway, I want nothing to do with Arizona. The only thing I want is James Conner. The rest of that team can kiss my butt. They are just such a trash filled mystery. I mean, I get it. The value's there. The players can be exciting, but I cannot honestly tell you who I think their quarterback's going to be in 2025. And Kyler Murray's like 25 years old. So
Yeah,
like
I think
I'm out.
yeah, I think it's going to be one of three guys. I think it's either going to be Kyler Murray. I think it's going to be Drake May, or I guess Caleb Williams would be two, or Drake May potentially. I don't know if they move off Kyler Murray for Drake May, but they for sure move off Kyler Murray if they have an opportunity to draft Caleb Williams. So it'll be interesting. That's also Kyler Murray, by the way, another guy who potentially could find himself in Minnesota. That's another one where
Or Green Bay.
they're looking. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they need a quarterback.
Yeah. I'm sure they do. Yeah. He's not. Kyler Murray's not going to Green Bay. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. But just to close, these stacks can be they can just be league winning plays if you can hit on them, and that's kind of why we were talking about these potential future stacks, because as Rob said in the beginning of the video, that once both the players become who they are, once they reach their peak value, they are so expensive to acquire. And so if you can get these younger guys, or you can get these kind of up in the air situations before their value peaks, you're going to be in a pretty dang good spot if it hits. So
Stafford Cooper Cup. That's another one.
Yeah, again, that's just so short term. I thought about that, but you love
Yeah.
it for this year. So we'll see. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us, and have an awesome day.
Peace.